Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Easy Learning Vocabulary. Today, let us discuss top 50 one-word substitutions that are repeated in competitive exams. I also provided example and picture so that you can understand it very well and remember it very well. So before the session, today's motivation. Don't compare yourself to others. It is a reminder that life is a journey, not a competition, and that your worth is not determined by how you measure up to others. Instead of comparing yourself to others, you can try competing with yourself. You can celebrate your uniqueness and focus on living on your own terms. So, now let us discuss some words. Let's get started. Altruist, a person who works for the welfare of others. For example, Mother Teresa was an altruist who devoted her life to helping the poor. Next one, ambidextrous, a person who can use both hands with equal skill. For example, the ambidextrous player could bat with both hands. Just go through the pictures, you can understand it. And then next, amateur, a person who engages in an activity for pleasure but not professionally. For example, though an amateur photographer, his pictures were stunning. And then next, anthropologist, a person who studies human societies and culture. For example, the anthropologist spent years studying the tribal customs. And then next, agnostic, a person who believes that nothing can be known about the existence of God. For example, as an agnostic, he neither confirmed nor denied the existence of a higher power. And then next, autocracy, a system of government by one person with absolute power. For example, the country had suffered under autocracy for many decades. And then next, aristocracy, government by the nobility or upper class. For example, the aristocracy held most of the power in medieval times. Next one, avarice, extreme greed for wealth or material gain. For example, his avarice led him to betray even his closest friends for money. You can see the pictures. And then next, bibliophile, a person who loves or collects books. For example, as a bibliophile, her house was filled with rare books. Next one, cannibal, a person who eats human flesh. For example, the legend of the island being inhabited by cannibals scared the explorers. And then next, connoisseur, a person judge in matters of taste. For example, as a wine connoisseur, she could identify even the rarest flavors. And then next, circumlocution, the use of many words where fewer would do. For example, his circumlocution confused the listeners and dragged out the meeting. And then next, democracy, a system of government by the people, typically through elected representatives. For example, democracy ensures that every citizen has a voice in the government. Egoist, a person who is self centered. For example, his egoist nature made it difficult for him to maintain friendships. And then next, epicure, a person who takes pleasure in fine food and drink. For example, the epicure savored every dish at the five-star restaurant. And then next, fatalist, a person who believes all events are predetermined. For example, as a fatalist, she believed that nothing she did would change her fate. And then next, Fanatic, a person with extreme enthusiasm for a cause. For example, the sorry, the football fanatics camped outside the stadium for days. Next one, feminist, a person who advocates for gender equality. For example, she was a staunch feminist fighting for equal rights for women. And then next, fratricide, the killing of one's brother. For example, the king was accused of fratricide to ascend to the throne. Next one, herbivore, an animal that feeds on plants. For example, cows are herbivores and eat only grass and plants. Just go through the word, example, and picture. And then next, iconoclast, a person who attacks cherished beliefs or institutions. For example, the artist was the artist was an iconoclast who challenged traditional views. Next one, illiterate, a person unable to read or write. For example, the literacy program aimed to help illiterate adults learn to read. And then next, immortal, a person who cannot die. For example, the myth said that the gods were immortal beings. Next one, invincible, something or someone too powerful to be defeated. For example, the team seemed invincible after winning every match of the season. And then next, insolvent, a person who unable to pay their debts. For example, after the business failed, he was declared insolvent. Next one, introvert, a shy, reticent person. For example, being an introvert, he preferred staying home with a book rather than attending party. And then next, infallible. It means incapable of making mistakes. For example, the software wasn't infallible, but it rarely made errors. Next one, infanticide, the killing of an infant. For example, the tragic case of infanticide shocked the nation. And then next, manuscript, handwritten or typed document. For example, the author's original manuscript was stored in the library's archives. Next one, matriarchy, a system ruled by women. For example, in this Asian society, leadership was passed down through a matriarchy. And then next, misanthrope, a person who dislikes humankind. For example, known as an misanthrope, he avoided social interaction whenever possible. Misogynist, a person who dislikes women. For example, his misogynist views led to his dismissal from the company. Just go through the pictures, word, and meaning and example. And then next, omnipotent, having unlimited power. For example, in many religions, God is considered omnipotent, omniscient, knowing everything. For example, the narrator of the story seemed omniscient, aware of every character's thoughts. And then next, omnivore, an animal or a person that eats both plants and animals. For example, humans are omnivores, eating a diet of both meat and plants. Next one, orphan, a child whose parents are dead. For example, after the accident, the boy was left an orphan. Pseudonym, a fictitious name, especially one used by an author. For example, Mark Twain was the pseudonym used by Samuel Clemens. Philanthropist, a person who seeks to promote the welfare of others. For example, the philanthropist donated millions to build schools in underprivileged areas. And then next, plagiarism, the act of taking someone else's work and passing it off as one's own. For example, the student was expelled for committing plagiarism in his research paper. Next one, posthumous, occurring or awarded after the death of originator. For example, the artist's work gained posthumous fame after he died. And then next, protagonist, the main character in a drama or literary work. For example, the protagonist of the novel faced numerous challenges in his quest. Next one, pedestrian, a person walking along a road. For example, the pedestrian narrowly avoided being hit by the speeding car. And then next, polygamy, the practice of having more than one wife or husband at the same time. For example, polygamy is illegal in many countries, though still practiced in some cultures. And then next, somnambulist, a person who walks in their sleep. For example, as a somnambulist, he often wandered the house at night without waking up. And then next, stock, a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing feelings. For example, he remained stock during the difficult times, never once complaining. And then next, suicide, the act of intentionally causing one's own death. For example, the novel dealt with the heavy themes of depression and suicide. And then next, teetotaler, a person who never drinks alcohol. For example, as a teetotaler, he abstained from alcohol at all social events. Utopia, an imagined place or state of things where everything is perfect. For example, the book described a utopia where everyone lived in harmony and peace. Just go through the word and meaning, example, and pictures so that you can remember it very well. And then next, ventriloquist, a person who speaks in a way that makes it seem as if the voice is coming from somewhere else. For example, the ventriloquist performance amazed the children. And then next, xenophobia, a fear or hatred of foreigners. For example, xenophobia can lead to discrimination against immigrants. Write at least 3 or 4 words in the comment section. Let me know how many of you remember the words. And this is useful to you, then do subscribe, share and like my channel Easy Learning Vocabulary. Thank you each and everyone.